Welcome into the Logan Ward Show here on 12 Ounce Sports. Hope y'all had a fantastic weekend. I did when we played some golf. I actually broke my 8-iron yesterday. Not on purpose. I didn't break it on purpose. I didn't smash it into the ground, but I accidentally broke my 8-iron yesterday. Swung, hit the ball, and the club head went with it. So that was pretty disappointing, but I had a great weekend. Went to golf, spent some more time with my wife. I got to go back to the office today, so no more working from home for me. So I hope y'all had a fantastic weekend. We're able to spend some time with some loved ones and enjoy it. We're going to get into some sports today. We'll talk about Jason Tatum. The Celtics are prepared to offer him the max contract. Well, I think that is absolutely right. And how Jason Tatum is like Kobe Bryant. He looked up to him, but I'll talk more about that coming up, as well as I give you two teams that are in the same division. One's going to be significantly better this year. One's going to be significantly worse. I'll touch on that coming up here on the show as well. Have a big show for you today. But I wanted to start with this. With what's going on in this country, the civil unrest that's happening in this country, I felt like it would be weird for me not to address it. I know that a lot of people have addressed it. We've seen a lot of people put out statements. We've seen college sports, head coaches put out statements, head coaches in the NBA, the NFL. We've seen all these statements, right? And, sometimes I don't think that matters much unless you're an employee of that company or you're a fan of that team. And I really contemplated whether or not saying anything or voicing my opinion. Because, one, I know that people say stick to sports. And I know that I don't have a lot of followers. I don't have a lot of listeners, and I don't want to isolate people. But I don't think that this is the time to be making that decision. Don't think this is the time to be doing that because I don't want to isolate people that listen to me. I want to say this first. I am a white male in this country, and I will never understand the experiences of the African American community. Never. I will never, ever know what it's like. I am a white male. I am so privileged. I'm a middle-class white male. So let me say that. I'm never going to speak on behalf of the issues of any community other than mine. And we have our own. So I just wanted to preface it with that. But I do want to talk about the situation that's going on all around the country. And really, it's now getting into all around the world. I've seen all sorts of things on social media, which I know is just a small portion, just a small chasm of people. But what we're seeing in this country is civil unrest. What we're seeing in this country is a group of people feeling like they haven't been heard. And I've seen all over. Well, just protest. Peacefully protest. They've tried. The African American community has tried to peacefully protest. Colin Kaepernick was told to leave the country. Colin Kaepernick was vilified for peacefully protesting. Doesn't have a job in the NFL because of a peaceful protest and the outrage that it caused. LeBron James, when he speaks out on political issues, on issues of the African American community, he's told to shut up and dribble. all the time African American celebrities at award shows. They're, why are we talking about politics here? That's what it is. Don't use your platform to speak about the injustice. I don't want to hear it. Let me hear your acceptance speech. Black athletes, black media members, sports media members, every time they talk about social injustice, they're told to, quote, stick to sports. These are all the things. These are all the these are all the peaceful protests that have happened. The NBA wore I Can't Breathe t-shirts years ago. Years ago they did that. And it still resonates today. Maybe even more. Martin Luther King, we've seen the quote, "A riot is the language of the unheard." And I've seen people say this. I've seen people say that the peaceful protest, they fell on deaf ears. And I don't think that's true, because to me, that implies, deaf ears implies you couldn't listen. They fell on ears that wouldn't listen, weren't willing to listen. And this was the next step. Riots, they force people in power to make decisions. They force people in power to act. Peaceful protests, they're great. I would prefer them. I don't like violence. I hate violence. I'll be honest with you, I don't really like watching UFC all that much. I don't like violence. I don't like just physical violence all the time. But these were peaceful protests. Nobody listened. You can peacefully protest, but if no one's listening, what's the next step? It's the riots. It forces people in power to acknowledge the situation. It forces people in power to acknowledge the problem and to hopefully make a change. I think that sports are a very unique thing in this country. The locker room is a very unique thing in this country. You have people from all over the country. You have all different socioeconomical statuses growing up. You have all sorts of colors. You have all sorts of religious beliefs. You have all sorts of political beliefs. And they're in one room for a common goal: win a championship. That's a unique thing to sports. And I think that if we listen to our athletes that have lived these lives, that have lived in poverty, athletes that have lived in these communities, if we listen to them, they know what this is. They've seen it. They might have family members still living in these areas. They themselves might not be impacted by this because they're a celebrity, but their uncles, their aunts, their cousins, their nephews, their nieces, it could be any of them. I don't want violence. And it's sad to see some of these things. But this was the next step. Nobody was listening to the peaceful protest. Nobody was addressing it. We've had this conversation how many years now? And it's never been addressed. Maybe this civil unrest across the country, maybe this will force people who are in leadership to make changes or to begin to make changes. This is going to take a while. This isn't going to be an overnight thing. But maybe, just maybe, the people in power, the people that we've chose to represent us, maybe this causes some change. Maybe this protest changed some people's minds. That's all I can hope for, is that this changes people's minds, that this changes laws, that this changes the narrative. But we'll see. I just hope we're not in the same situation 3 years from now. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do some sports.
For the marching exercise, you want to sit down in the center front of your chair, bring your feet shoulder width apart, and form a 90-degree angle with your knees. From here, you're going to lift one foot and raise the opposite arm, just as you march in place in your chair. Make sure you keep that core nice and tight and you breathe into it and also maintain good posture with a straight back.
DrinkAid, ready for distribution worldwide.
That's what's needed to get to that next level. I'm Rob Pennell, and I'm going to teach you how to be an offensive machine.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now, and my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
Some new MLB Major League Baseball proposals. The MLBPA has come out with a new proposal. We'll get to that here in just a second in the news section of today's show. We're going to get into some sports talk now. This is a weird time because typically, right, when we have an issue of civil unrest or riots or protests or a lot of things going on in the country, we typically turn to sports, right? I mean, we typically turn to sports to get some escapism. Here we don't. We don't have that because we're still in a pandemic, people. We're still in a pandemic if you didn't know. So it's pretty crazy because typically we would turn to sports for some escapisms to watch, teams work together to see all this. Don't have that right now. Do not have that right now. So we're just kind of sitting here watching it unfold. Everyone's watching it, and that's the only thing that can happen. But the MLBPA has proposed a new 114-game season and a counter-proposal to the MLB. I don't know. We'll get into that. The MLB, to me, this whole thing, and I've talked about it before, this whole thing with me, the MLB seems so it's just tone deaf. You don't know what's we're in the middle of a pandemic, in a recession. 38 million people have filed for unemployment. And it's like, what are we doing? Doesn't look good. You can't win the court of public opinion. Not right now. Typically, you would be all right with it. In a typical year, if you had labor disputes, people would get behind you. Right now, no one's going to get behind you. Nobody cares. So, we'll talk. The MLBPA has proposed a 114-game season in a counter proposal. They sent a return-to-play proposal to the MLB on Sunday. It said deferred salaries in the event of a canceled postseason or the option for all players to opt out of a potential 2020 season due to coronavirus concerns. That was another thing people didn't discuss in the first one. What happens if people just don't want to play? What happens if one person gets sick? We were just talking about labor. We're talking about money and wages. What about sickness and health? Nobody really talked about that. So there's a lot of different. This is the first proposal from the union, from the MLBPA, straight from the Players Association. This is the first proposal. 114 game season is not that's a lot still. I think that the worst thing baseball can do is try to compete against the NBA and the NFL. If you're in October, most people will watch playoff baseball. If you're in October, it's the start of the NFL season. You're in October, but now if you push this back, so the 114 game season, which under the union's proposal would run from June 30th, so the end of this month, to October 31st, and then you'd have the playoffs. So you're looking at the playoffs ending in mid-November, or even later than that. That's right in the thick of the NFL season. If the NFL's playing, and so is the MLB, no one's going to be watching that. And if the NBA is wrapping up their season at that point in time, I think the MLB has wildly overvalued their rank in American sports. I know that TV revenues are up with baseball, but I think that's more of just people just turn it on to just have it on as background noise, and I understand that that's the goal. You don't really need people paying attention that much, but if you're going to try to go up against the NFL in mid-November and December, that's not going to be great for Major League Baseball. Not going to be well. And on top of that, the NBA season might be wrapping up, and you might have a Clippers-Lakers final. Not good for the MLB. But I understand they're trying to get as many games as they possibly can in. They're trying to do that so that they can make the most money, that they can have the most money to give to their players. I understand that. But, this is just, to me, this is kind of weird. This is kind of a weird time for the MLB. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of a recession. 38 million people unemployed, and you're talking about labor disputes right now. Kind of seems tone deaf to me. And that could just be me. I mean, there could be people out there that are really backing this and really fighting for it, but to me, don't talk about money right now. It's not a great look. Not a great look. But the MLB Players Association has proposed that, so we'll see what happens with that. There's a lot to still discuss with the NBA as well. The NBA, when is it coming back? Is it coming back? Who's coming back? We've seen a lot of 20 teams come back. 2 teams from the divisions come back, or 4 teams from the Western Conference try to fight for that one spot, and that is the Zion Williamson effect. The NBA wants Zion on the field, on the court. The NBA wants Zion playing in games. I mean, he's a draw. People will watch Zion Williamson. So this is what this is, and we're going to see, we're going to see races for MVP, for Rookie of the Year, for Defensive Player of the Year, and if Zion comes back to the playoffs and he's fantastic, I mean, it's a shoo-in that he'll win. I mean, the league is making it so that they can try to put Zion Williamson on the court in the playoffs. I would be all right with the 1 through 16 team seeding. Go ahead straight to the playoffs. 3-game series for the first, or whatever you want to do. I think that the group stage situation that Adam Silver reportedly is discussing, with a group stage kind of like your World Cup, I think that would be fantastic. I think, honestly, I think that would be great. Not only for the sport, not only for the NBA, but I think that would be great just for, fans. That would be fantastic to watch. So if that's the case, let's just do the 16 teams. Let's put them into divisions. Let's have 2 games each, and let's go. That would be so much fun to watch. Top 2 teams in each division go to a knockout round. Best 2 out of 3. We've had 3 months off now. I understand it's going to take some teams to get back into shape and get, a lot of people say that you don't really get into your full swing until mid-season after the All-Star break. That's when you start playing your best basketball. So now that you had to take a break, it's going to, there'll be some sloppy basketball going on, but we watch college basketball. We watch early season college basketball. Doesn't bother us. We watch early season NBA basketball. It doesn't really bother us. So I think if this happens, I think that if the NBA comes back and we have this, veteran teams are going to shine. LeBron James, the Clippers, Giannis, those teams I think will do all right. The Celtics I think will be all right. The young teams, the Grizzlies, some of those younger teams, the Nets I don't think will be great unless Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving come back, which I don't think they will. But that's pretty much it. I think that would be fantastic. You have 3 months. You've had 2 months off. Now you have 2 months of straight basketball, and you could be hoisting a championship. Better work your tail off. So I think that would be really interesting to see if the NBA and what the NBA does in terms of this happening. I want to get to this. Before we go to a break. So the report is that the Celtics will offer Jason Tatum a max contract at the end of the year. And I've had this argument. Look, I'm a Celtics fan. All right? I am. I'm a Celtics fan. I've worn Celtics gear on the show. I'm a Celtics fan. I've talked about it. But to me, there's no true star on that team right now. I got in an argument with people on Twitter about this. I don't think Jason Tatum is a superstar right now. You wouldn't put Jason Tatum in the same conversation as LeBron, Giannis, Kawhi, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. You wouldn't put him in that same conversation. Now, he could get to that point, but I don't think that today, 2020, you're saying that he's up there with those players. He's not. Not in terms of sheer talent. We're talking LeBron, Kevin Durant, Giannis, Kawhi, James Harden. Those are cream of the crop right there. Jason Tatum is, I think, that next level. And will he ever get to that point? Possibly. I think Jason Tatum's a lot like Kobe Bryant. I think he can be a lot like Kobe Bryant. If the Celtics offer him a max contract and he's there for another 5 years, I think that this could be massive for Boston. Jason Tatum is a really good player. Jason Tatum is comparable to Kobe Bryant. Remember, Kobe didn't come into this league. Michael Jordan came into this league and dominated. Kobe didn't. Kobe had, I think 3 consecutive air balls in his first playoff appearance to lose the games. It wasn't... Kobe struggled. I know he came in at 18, but Kobe struggled to come into this league and make a significant impact. He got better. He used that Mamba mentality. But Kobe Bryant wasn't Kobe in his first couple of years. Jason Tatum, at age 21, is averaging more points than Kobe did at age 21. Not by much, but about 1 point. Their year 2 numbers, their year 3 numbers, Jason Tatum's averaging 23.5. Kobe's averaged 19, 20, pretty much 20 points a game. Field goal percentage, right there in the same. Now, Jason Tatum's got to learn how to win. But I think that Jason Tatum could be Kobe Bryant-like. And he looked up to Kobe. Kobe was his idol. And so, with I really do believe that Jason Tatum could be Kobe Bryant-like. He'll never be Kobe, but I think he could be Kobe Bryant-like. He has an arsenal of skill set offensively. Defensively, I think he's gotten better. He has a really long wingspan. He's got a big wingspan that he can block shots. And so I think Jason Tatum's going to be a really good player in the years to come. And if I'm the Celtics, I don't hesitate to offer him the max contract because I think he's worth it. Give him the max. Show him that he's worth it. And then put the pressure on him to get better every day. And I think that that's what's going to happen. I don't think that the Boston Celtics right now in 2020 have a superstar player that can lead your team to an NBA Finals. They don't have a Steph Curry, LeBron, Giannis, but Jason Tatum could be that next guy. He could take the mantle and be that next guy. And to be honest with you, we're looking at Zion Williamson as the next face of the franchise, right? Face of the league. LeBron's going to retire here in probably the next 4 years. We're looking for that next generation of players. Zion Williamson is one, but he's in New Orleans. It's not a basketball town, really. That's a football town. They love their New Orleans Saints. So we'll see. I mean, Anthony Davis was there, and it was like, yeah, he's a great player, but wasn't really the star. I don't know if Zion's going to be there his whole career. But Boston has a rich history of basketball. They love basketball in Boston. And Jason Tatum can be a star player in that system, for that franchise. That's great for the league. Fantastic for the league. We see a lot of teams. Now, the LA teams are good. Houston's been good. A lot of teams are trying to go. A lot of players are going to to California or Texas. And so if you have a great player in Jason Tatum in Boston, I think it's fantastic for your franchise. And I think that he could be the next superstar that is going to take the mantle from LeBron and some of these older veterans. I think Jason Tatum's the real deal. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to get into something very interesting. I think that there are two teams. There are two teams in the NFL that I think one's going to be significantly better than what they were last year, and one's going to be significantly worse, and they're in the same division. I'll talk about that coming up next here on the Logan Ward Show. Are you looking for a new sports book that provides the easiest deposits, the fastest payout, and the best customer service? Well, look no further than MyBookie. MyBookie strives to deliver on a always expanding selection of sports odds for players at all levels. As a MyBookie player, you'll get the industry's most rewarding loyalty program with payout request processed in just 48 hours, hundreds of casino games, and great bonuses on every deposit. You can join MyBookie today for a 50% sign-up bonus up to $1,000 using the promo code 12OunceSports.
For the marching exercise, you want to sit down in the center front of your chair, bring your feet shoulder width apart, and form a 90-degree angle with your knees. From here, you're going to lift one foot and raise the opposite arm just as you march in place in your chair. Make sure you keep that core nice and tight and you breathe into it, and also maintain good posture with a straight back.
Drink Aid, ready for distribution worldwide.
That's what's needed to get to that next level. I'm Rob Pennell, and I'm going to teach you how to be an offensive machine.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now. And my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter if you haven't already, at Logan Ward Show. You can also follow my personal Twitter, at Logan D. Ward. So if you haven't done that already, go ahead and do that. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can search Logan Ward Show and subscribe there. Goes a long way to help grow the channel. So I wanted to talk about this. So this is really interesting. I was looking at the NFL and the NFL teams and schedules and who I think is going to be significantly better and who I think is going to be worse next year. And it just so happens to be that I think that the team that I'm looking at that's going to have the most growth next year, and the team that I think is going to fall off is kind of harsh, but a team that I don't think is going to be as good next year is happen to be in the same division. I mean, they're sitting there in the same division. So here's the team that I think is going to kind of take a step back. Maybe not fall off, but take a step back. I think the Houston Texans are going to take a step back. They're not going to be a playoff team next year. you lose DeAndre Hopkins, and you can say, well, it's a receiver. We don't need receivers that bad in the NFL right now, right? We can just pick and choose. DeAndre Hopkins is special. DeAndre Hopkins is Julio Jones-like, Michael Thomas-like. DeAndre Hopkins is a special wide receiver. And for a young quarterback like Deshaun Watson, who has had the luxury of having DeAndre Hopkins there at all points in time where he can find him, it's going to be big. It's going to be big that he's gone. Will Fuller's hurt constantly. You don't have a true wide receiver. Randall Cobb, you brought in Randall Cobb. He's a slot receiver that doesn't do that. I mean, he's a talented receiver, but he's older and he's not as agile and not as good as he used to be. So defensively, I think that they're going to be all right, but not great. Their secondary's had some issues in the last couple of seasons. I think that this team is going to take a step back. They were 10-6 last year. They have a team in Tennessee that's going to, I think, stay about the same as where they are. I think that Tennessee will be a 9-7, 10-6 team next year. Great running game. Sign Ryan Tannehill. Good defense. I think that they have the right coach in Mike Vrabel. So you're going to have to face them. And then the other team in that division, who I think is going to be significantly better, is the Indianapolis Colts. I have the Colts winning the division. That's a great offensive line. Great offensive line. They ranked 7th last year in rushing. And they're going to be even better this year because now they have a true threat at quarterback with Phillip Rivers. You can tell me, oh, well, Phillip Rivers, he throws a lot of interceptions. Well, in L.A., with a makeshift offensive line, you got to kind of let it rip. This is not a makeshift offensive line in Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers knows the playbook. He knows Frank Reich's system. He knows where to go with the football. And I think that that's going to be significantly better. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 11 games this year. Win 11-5 and won that division. I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to be a lot better this year than what they were last year. Last year they were 7-9. You bring in Phillip Rivers, who's a really good quarterback. You bring him in, and on top of the run game, on top of the defense that you have, with Malik Hooker, you have a really strong defense secondary. You have a strong defensive line and a pass rush. You have good linebackers. Got a great offensive line. Serviceable running backs. And T.Y. Hilton, I think, is still a good wide receiver. Not great, but a good wide receiver. You have some talent on the outside as well. So I think the Colts are going to be significantly better next year. And I think that the Houston Texans aren't going to win that division. I wouldn't be surprised if they went 7-9. That's a 3-win swing. To me, the Houston Texans aren't going to be as good next year. They're going to take a step back. And I think the Colts are winning that division in the AFC South. I thought about that yesterday when I was looking at this. I was like, yeah, the team that I thought is going to not be as good next year, the Houston Texans, they won the division at 10-6. They're not going to win the division this year. I'm not going to pick an easy one. I didn't want to pick the New England Patriots. Of course they're not going to be as good. They lost Tom Brady. Duh. They're not going to be as good. The same thing with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Of course they're going to be better than what they were last year. Last year they were 7-9. Of course they're going to be better than that. You got Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. Of course. So I didn't want to pick the easy ones. But I think that in that division, in the AFC South, you're going to have them flip-flop. I think it will go Indianapolis, Tennessee, and Houston. I think that's the way the division goes. Here in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably start doing some more breakdowns of the NFL divisions, my thoughts on who's going to win the division, and I'll give you my predictions on this upcoming season. So be on the lookout for that here in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, just be on the lookout for that. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back on Wednesday. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Logan B. Ward. You can follow me or the show at Logan Ward Show. You can also please subscribe to us on Facebook or on YouTube. All of that support goes a long way. It really does. So feel free to share everything you see online. That's going to do it for us, though. We'll be back on Wednesday. Plenty of sports still to talk about. We'll get into all the sports stories from around the sports world coming up on Wednesday. This has been the Logan Ward Show on 12 Ounce Sports Network.